Thank you, Jason David Frank.
And Mr. Spawn.
And thank you for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing.
And don't forget to ring the bell so you get notified when we upload new content.
That's up.
And that's Chris. Decca, what do we got on deck for today?
On today's episode of PRNT, we elaborate on our missed opportunity episode from last week.
Well, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, it is a two-part episode. So we're going to discuss our ideas behind the missed opportunity. So stay tuned.
It's PRNT time.
After 10,000 years, I'm free! It's time to watch PRNT!
Welcome, Rangers.
This episode of
PRNT.
your source for all things
Power Rangers.
As we heard in the opener, it's time for part 2 of last week's missed opportunity.
That's right. If you have not seen part 1 yet, please check the card and then come back to this point right here, right now.
This very second.
Go ahead. We'll wait.
You good? Okay.
Oh, okay.
If you did see last week's missed opportunity, then you know that we told this story involving Antonio on a journey to get new powers after his self-made powers had failed.
Oh man. I love that episode. I'm so happy we did this. Now, the powers he ended up receiving, a little spoiler if you still have not clicked that card, were the green samurai powers from Cam Watanabe from Ninja Storm.
Now, we left you with a cliffhanger last week. We told you the story.
But we didn't quite tell you how everything connects. And that is the goal of this episode.
First, though, we need to make a correction from our video last week.
What do you mean? Are you trying to say we made a mistake?
Chris did.
Wow. I mean, who could really say who made the mistake?
We both made the mistake.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, so, as you know, we tend to butcher names on this show.
And last week was no different.
We repeatedly said Cam, listen closely, Watanabe, when it's actually Watanabe.
We were adding an extra N, yes.
But in our defense, we did do some light research, and we saw that we aren't the only ones that have made this mistake.
Right, but Watanabe is the correct pronunciation, so that's what we are going to use from now on.
Alright, now to explain this crazy idea of ours.
At first, we thought that because Cam and Mia had the same last name, that they could be brother and sister.
But then we thought that was weak support because Cam was never mentioned to having a sister.
Right. So this brought us to the idea of cousins. Okay, I think that's a reasonable explanation. But the question remains, how are they related?
And to answer this question, we had to come up with a theory that we call the Three Brothers Theory.
And here it is. We know that there are already 2 Watanabe brothers.
That's right. Kanoi, which is Cam's dad.
And Kaya, who later became Lothar. I'm going to say Kaya. I think that's how it is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Kaya, who later became Lothar.
Please tell us, and we know you will, if we butchered that name.
Yeah, no kidding.
So how are they related to Mia, then?
Well, we think that there had to be another Watanabe brother in the Ninja Academy.
And this brother left the Ninja Academy, found a beautiful woman.
Who was the Pink Samurai Ranger.
And they then had a child.
And they named her Mia.
Thus meaning that Cam and Mia are cousins.
Right, but let's not stop there. Why is this nameless Watanabe brother never mentioned by Sensei Kanoi?
We think that when this unknown brother was younger, he decided to exile himself from the Ninja Academy, looking for his own path.
And choosing to self-exile yourself was a serious thing to do that came with severe consequences. When he chose to exile himself, he knew that he would be disowned by his family.
Which he was, which is why he was never mentioned by Lothor or Sensei Kanoi.
Now, we know what you're thinking. Disownment because of self-induced exile is kind of harsh.
But remember, this is a prestigious ninja academy, and leaving or being kicked out is serious.
To prove that, let's look at the banishment of Lothor.
When Kaya was banished from the academy for his crimes, the bond between the brothers was broken.
So much so that Kanoi no longer considered him a brother.
And we think that it isn't that far of a stretch to think that the brother that chose to exile himself was also disowned by his family, and that is why he was never mentioned.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we would have written this storyline had we been in charge.
So let's tie some things together.
Cam's mom was the original 6th Samurai Ranger.
Who became best friends with Mia's mother, the Pink Samurai Ranger.
Who was married to the unknown Watanabe brother.
And that when Cam's mom made her almost fatal mistake, we mentioned in part 1.
Mia's mom told her to go to the Wind Ninja Academy.
Which she knew about because she was married to the unknown Watanabe brother.
So Cam's mom goes to the Wind Ninja Academy as a new student.
Which is where the TV series of Ninja Storm picks up the story.
Right, and we know this because we know that Cam's mom is a new student because when she's pictured, she's wearing these things called new student robes.
And we know that they are new student robes because Cam, who says he is there as a new student, is wearing the exact same robes.
Right. Now, before we end this, we want to make one last point.
And hopefully it helps explain one important point that some of you may have noticed. I mean, it was even literally the title of the last episode.
That's the title of this episode. We just added a part 2 to it. Yeah.
Right.
So here's our last point. If Cam's mom was the original 6th Samurai Ranger, that means that there were 2 green samurai colored rangers. Okay. Which some of you may use as proof to just toss this storyline right out the window. I mean, come on. There can't be 2 rangers of the same color on the same team, right?
I mean, that's what they're thinking.
Right. But they are
wrong. That's right. You are wrong. And before you do that, throw the story out just because you think we're wrong. Yeah. Let us draw your attention to the season of Time Force.
If you remember correctly, there were 2, count them 2, red-colored rangers on that team.
Wes, who was red.
And Eric, who was called the Quantum Ranger.
But really, they both were red. And they both came back for Forever Red, which is even more proof that they both were red.
Right. And if you want more proof, we could even look at the Ninja Storm team themselves.
They had Shane, who was red, and Tori, who was blue.
But they also had Hunter, who was crimson.
A.k.a. dark red.
And Blake, who was navy.
Dark blue.
Yeah. So it's not too much to think that the Samurai team could have had a Green Ranger
and a 6th Ranger who was also green in color.
That's right. I think we've tied this one up pretty well.
Yes, this has been an awesome missed opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it's one we spent a lot of time on. Yeah, and if you agree or disagree with our theories, you can do one of 2 things. Either A, message us on any of our social media, or B, you can leave a comment on this video below, which is much easier.
Yeah, a lot easier. I mean, you don't have to hunt down another web page.
Right.
But anyway, thank you guys so much for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing.
And don't forget to ring the bell so you're notified when we upload new content. And remember, as we sign off, our hope is that the power will always protect you.
Let's power down.
Hey Rangers, thanks for checking out this episode.
If you want to see more, be sure to click the link to the left to see our most popular video.
Check out the link on the right to see our most recent upload.
And aim for that button in the center to subscribe if you haven't already.
And if you still want more, be sure to check out our social media pages where we post all sorts of things to be your source for all things Power Rangers.